Good morning. So, I want to talk about the spiritual awakening in a nutshell. And I hope that I can do this justice because this is a very, very big point. This is detrimental to the spiritual awakening. Um, and I can see that within each of us, it is we take different paths, but we are actually doing the same pattern work. So we're doing the same in a nutshell. Like if you take it as a archetypical pattern, we're doing the same work. It looks different for each of us because each of us has different internal work. And in a nutshell, the spiritual awakening is coming out of ego. And I know we hear this rise into your higher self, go back to your core vibration, transcend the ego. We hear this again and again and again, but it's very, very simple and very precise. It is transcending the ego. It is, but it's not transcending the ego like leaving the ego behind. That is why the ego keeps holding on. All of our spiritual work, everything that we have to do, the only work that we have to do is work within the ego. Is It's like comforting a child. The ego is used to having to take control, and we have been asleep for so long that we just let the ego take the easy route. We turn the ego on automatic. It's like if you have a airplane, you can either be at the driver's seat, or you can put it on auto mode. But when you trust auto mode isn't auto mode of your ego is for functioning in the 3D world. It's not for your higher purpose. So if you want to use your ego for your higher purpose, you first have to come into the driver's seat and take the controls back. But you have to thank the ego, and because the ego is so used to being on that automatic, it's so used to having to be in the driver's seat and scared in the driver's seat, right? Because if it lets go of control, everything is going to fall apart, right? So your ego, it doesn't really know what to do. It's kind of like using AI. You can use AI as an extension of yourself, but if you just leave AI to do it, it's not working in your best interest. It's just putting out default information, right? And when you learn how to um, program the AI to work with you, then AI becomes like a servant for you, as well as you can program the ego. The ego becomes your servant, and the ego begins to trust you. So up until now, during the our life process, we've been in these automatic modes, and that's what the spiritual awakening is. It's coming out of those automatic modes and all of a sudden seeing where your life energy has gone, and the places that you haven't been in your higher self, and the places that you've been sitting in that ego and allowing the autopilot to roll. And a lot of times it just gives us an out. It's easier because then we can just be, and we have this automatics rolling and taking care of us, right? The meat body. But once we start coming in, once we start waking up, we don't want the meat body to have control over the experience. We want to take the experience and experience life to the fullest. But if we have our ego, which is our container, right? So we are this massive being, and we're in this container that is allowing us to, this container that has all of these archetypical patterns that sit within the ego. The ego is the separation, the sense of I. And so we have abandoned our ego for so long. We have abandoned ourselves and put the ego in charge and thought that we were the ego, going according to laws and regulations of the matrix and what they taught us in school and what society tells us is the right way to behave, and what we are supposed to do. So the ego has been has had to take over control, and the ego has made all sorts of mechanisms to hold on to that control, has created all sorts of mechanisms to navigate through life, and to the ego thinks that it is an entity of its own, right? And so the ego has created all of these behaviors that protect it, because inside it feels scared, because it knows that it's it's scared because the ego doesn't know what to do. Really, it's the higher self that is connected, that is coming through the ego. So all of the work that we have to do is within the ego. We have to slowly come back into the driver's seat, even recognize those, because we're so intertwined with our ego that in places we don't know why we are making the decisions that we are making, because they're so on automatic, and they are rolling with the fear of um, the fear of being hurt, the fear of our own emotions, the fear of our own uh, power, the fear of coming into that full power, and having to cope and deal with our own emotions. So it's all fear of self. And the ego doesn't really know what to do without you backing it. And we've abandoned the ego for so long that the ego feels like it's in control. And now it's trying to grasp and hold on to control. And as we slowly start coming through, the ego is like fighting for its life. And so all of the work that we have to do is, it's like taking care of a child. It's like seeing our ego as a child and just kind of easing it into, it's okay, we're back. We're going to protect you, letting the ego know that it's going to be okay, that it can let go of control, and it can allow, and that it can be open to all options coming in, because it's protected by the divine, by us. We are there now. Um, we quit abandoning our own ego. We quit abandoning ourself, our sense of I, and we slowly have to teach the ego. See, they call it ego death, but it's not really ego death. It's more like having compassion towards the ego, and treating the ego like it's our own child within, that we need to come in and go, shh, 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 you're okay. I'm here now, and I won't abandon you again, and I won't leave you alone, and I'll be here for you. Um, and standing behind that, I'll be here for you. I'll be here for you. And so all of the work, and the rest is done on its own. When we do that internal work and we come back into our power, and we know that we are of the divine, it's not the ego anymore trying to hold on to outside things to be able to get some kind of security. Because when we come through in our full connectiveness with the universe, then our ego can rest assured that it doesn't have to solve everything on its own. That there are divine forces here that are coming through. That I am not abandoning myself anymore. I'm not abandoning. I'm coming into marriage with my ego, and allowing my ego to rest for a minute. Allowing my ego, you could give it a different name. It doesn't matter. We call it ego, and it has all sorts of things attached to it. But you could call it my inner self, my um, I like to see it as an ultimate tool for this plane. It's my ultimate tool, and then I can see that all is divine, all is planned. That when I am able to come in and see my ego as separate from me, but also as one with me, then I can give that security to myself. So all of the work is within taking the power back from the ego, allowing the ego just to rest and be in service. It doesn't have to figure everything out. The rest of the work is done on its own. Once we are able to take our own self by the horns, take our own bull by the horns, and take back control of our life, then the ego can rest and know that we are, as a divine higher being, we are guided and protected. We, myself, and the ego as an extension of me, as a tool that I have received to be in this life plane. So, and then once we take back control of the avatar, and once we fully sit in the driver's seat of ourselves, the rest happens on its own. And we don't have to push anything outwardly. Whatever, when we come inwardly and fully take control of the avatar and fully sit in the driver's seat, everything outward will happen on its own. Our own light will shine through us, and we will be led to where we need to be. So there is no outer work that we have to go and we have to accomplish this and we have to do this. It's being, human being. We have to be, and then we will be led through the power of intuition, and through the power of excitement, and through the power of passion, and through the power of life. We will be led to navigate our, we will be navigated to put our life power will flow through us and go to the places of that need the nourishment automatically, and then providence is provided. We create that cycle of complete abundance and providence. So sending you guys so much love. Thank you so much for watching.